Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at common char functions. So we are going to analyze a string and break it down character by character and then use some of the built-in C#.NET capability to read each character and detect what the character is. So let us first start off with just the outline. We've got a button here and our button click event. So when we click this button, that code will run. Simple enough. The first thing I want to do is create a string that is going to be read. And we're going to read for 4 different types of pieces of information. We're going to read for letters, we're going to read for digits, white space, and punctuation. So we're going to write a little bit of code that kind of includes all of that. Right? We got hello, comma, space, world, exclamation point, space, 1, 2, 3. And I point out the comma, space, exclamation point, etc. because we are actually going to read that information and record it. And the way we are going to read and record all of that is with just some counting integers. Now I could set these values to be initialized to 0, but if I recall correctly, C# lets us do without that, and it will initialize them to 0 for us. The green underlines are just the compiler's way of telling me that I need to use those variables, otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense to have them. That's fine, because we are about to use them. So here I'm creating a Foreach loop that's going to read each character, each char, store it in a value called C, a variable called C, and it's going to read each individual character of a string. Remember, a character is just one part of a string. So a character array, each character is each value of the array is its own character. String being very similar to a character array. And here we're just reading each individual element. Now it is true that there are other characters like the \n, which is 2 keyboard clicks, but that is considered one character. That's the new line character, which will actually show at the end of this video. But continuing with our example here, we're going to loop through each character and then we're going to increment. We're going to count what type of character we're reading, whether we're reading a letter, a digit, some white space, a punctuation mark. That's what we are going to assess. So we're going to use this built char dot function. First one we'll check for is letter. We want to read the character. And if this is true, we increment letter count. Is it not liking? Do I need to initialize it? It looks like I do. So we'll do that real quick. And we'll continue with some else ifs. Char.IsDigit is digit. And then digit count will be incremented here. And we're going to do the same for white space now. Else if char is white space, read the letter C and increment white space if that is true. else if punctuation count char is punctuation, and a punctuation count increment. Cool, so we have the basic for loop set up here, for each, and it's going to increment one of these four. There's probably a fifth scenario that isn't coming to mind right away that we could increment, but if that were to happen, we just wouldn't enter any of these, and it would just loop would end and continue on to the next character, assuming there is one, and it's not end of string. And here we will do a message box. I am just going to copy and paste this. It is a lot to write out. So here we have our message box, and we are going to display the input string. We're going to display the numbers of increments that we counted for each of the characters. So here we should have 10 letters, 3 numbers, 2 punctuation, and 2 white space. And that's what we have here with our display message. We're using a cool little trick. It's called f strings in Python. I'm not entirely, I don't recall exactly what this is called, but what it does is it allows you to convert this to a string by doing the curly braces with this $sign in front. You can put a numeric value without having to convert it to a string, which is really convenient. You'll see here in our message box. So these are technically, this is technically an integer, but the curly brace with starting the string using the $sign allows us to easily convert that to a string. We get 10 letters for HELLO, WORLD, 3 digits for 1, 2, 3, 2 white spaces, so after the comma and after the exclamation point, and 2 punctuation, which is the comma and the exclamation point. We can take a quick look at the debugger and walk through the code that way on the button click and just watch all of these values get incremented as we go. I believe locals will do, yes. Here, okay, so text input is currently null. Jump past that. Initialize all these variables, that's great. Start the Foreach loop. And then we pick up our first char. 72 is the ASCII code. ASCII code is how the ASCII table would be a more proper way to describe it, but that's just the here, I'll take a quick snip and display it. The ASCII code here, what do we got? Capital H. So that's this bad boy right here. This is how we communicate our keyboard clicks to the computer hardware. So right now we're looking at number 72. It's just how we convert binary into something that'll make sense to the computer. The ones and zeros get converted. So here that's 72, the ASCII code, and we have the letter H, capital H. Lowercase h would be a different ASCII code. So that's our letter C here, and IsLetter is true. So letter increment count is true. We go on to the next char. These are all going to be letters, so we'll see 5 appear here. Letter count jumps up to 5. Now we're looking at the comma, so this should be true for the punctuation count as expected. Now we are looking at just the white space character, so white space count should increment here, which it does. And then we'll just jump past these real quick and get to the digit, show the digit, and we'll wrap up. So we just finished the exclamation point. Now we're finishing the second white space. Now we're on the number 1, ASCII code 49. That increments the digit. This one will increment the digit, digit 2, digit 3. There we go. Now we display the message box. So that's a quick rundown of our reading of characters and using built-in char functions to read a string and understand what the character is and filter and assess what character we're reading in the string. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.